Hi, everyone. I hope you all had a wonderful start to your day and the breakouts. I know I certainly did. I know I mentioned earlier that my room is currently cluttered right now with all the amazing insights from this conference on pink sticky notes. And I just realized that I'm down to two. And I have no doubt that our next keynote will fill those two up. So I am so excited to welcome the amazing Kaya Jones, who will be introducing our next speaker. Kaya is serving as a second-year fellow for Philadelphia and just an inspiring force and leader and mentor both inside and outside the Ignite community. So without further ado, hi, Kaya.
Hi, Julia. Thank you for all the amazing things you said about me. I really appreciate it. And it puts me in good spirits to introduce our last keynote speaker for Young Women Run. I'm so happy that I have the honor to introduce her because she is truly a force. I am introducing Congresswoman Lauren Underwood. She currently serves Illinois' 14th Congressional District and was sworn into the 116th U.S. Congress on January 3rd, 2019. Congresswoman Underwood is the first woman, the first person of color, and the first millennial to represent her community in Congress. She is also the youngest African American woman to serve in the United States House of Representatives. Congresswoman Underwood serves on the House Committee on Veteran Affairs, the House Committee on Appropriations. Congresswoman Underwood also co-founded and co-chairs the Black Maternal Health Caucus, which elevates the Black maternal health crisis within Congress and advances policy solutions to improve maternal health outcomes and end disparities. She serves as the House Democratic Steering and Policy Committee, and Representative Underwood is a member of the Future Forum, a group of young Democratic members of Congress committed to listening to and standing up for the next generation of Americans. She serves on the Congressional Black Caucus and the LGBT Equality Caucus and is a strong supporter of addressing gun violence. Congresswoman Underwood is a gun violence prevention task force member. So you can see she does a lot, and I can't wait to also be able to write on my sticky notes. I have some right here that's already filled up from earlier of what all that Congresswoman has to share. So without further ado, I introduce you, Congresswoman Underwood.
It's Congresswoman Lauren Underwood. I am so excited to be able to join you for this year's Ignite Conference. And I'd like to thank the incredibly hardworking, effective, impactful women on the Ignite board and those involved with planning tonight's event. Your leadership team is just extraordinary. So the theme for today is the time is now. And I've been saying since I've been in Congress that there is an urgency about my work, that we have so much to accomplish, and that I am just so laser focused on getting things done. Now, you might be saying, well, that's nice, Lauren, but why are you sharing this in this context? But here's the deal. I feel that same sense of urgency around the work of electing women, encouraging women to run for office, and making sure that we are stepping into our power and recognizing that everybody's not going to take 2 years to quit their job and run a campaign for Congress and then do this work full time, but that our ability to be impactful is no less if we take the opportunity to step forward and be bold and to serve within our communities. Whether you decide to seek an appointment, think about like a county commissioner or some kind of board, advisory board, something in your state. Or if you decide to run for local office, whatever it is, we can no longer decide to opt out, to let ourselves just have policies made about us, not even with us, not even with a chance to inform the ultimate product. I mean, I feel like that we have countless examples of, just policies that have been enacted that are harmful, either taking away our freedoms and our liberties, our civil rights, and, impairing our ability to live our best lives. And I'm all about that, okay? So here's the deal. The time is now. You are fabulous just as you are. You are more than enough right now. You are skilled. You have all kinds of knowledge. You're well connected in your communities. Your voice has such power. Your voice has such power that I know that when you decide to step forward, and whether you're advising candidates, whether you're running for office, or whether you are serving in another capacity, I know that you'll be impactful. So let's not sit back. We see the need all across our communities. A year into this pandemic, I mean, it's very clear the areas that need improvement. We have ideas. We are incredibly smart, and we can solve these challenges together. Thank you to Ignite for continuing to buoy us, to encourage us, to give us the skills to help foster these networks so that we can bring the change that we know is possible. And I hope you all continue to take good care of yourselves. Bye, everybody.
Wow. The power I just felt. An FYI update on my sticky notes. They're filled. She filled
back and forth.
Yes. Yep.
Well, I got the 3x5 cards myself. What did you think, Julia P?
I just love this continuous message of telling us that yes, we can. And our ideas are needed at the table now. And I think her point about this pandemic, pointing that out more than ever, like, just the power. And when she snapped, I heard her. I
felt the snap all the way from DC.
Her spirit was there, and I felt so appreciative of that, and her, you know, just wanting to extend that support and love to other women who are looking to be leaders themselves.
Yeah, specifically young women. I mean, I think the big component about Representative Underwood and thinking about how she stepped in at the particular moment in which she did, being the youngest at that time. And I don't know if you all know her background, but she was a nurse, or she is a nurse. She's not was. She is a nurse. She's currently a congresswoman too. And really just thinking about how do you transition from helping patients every single day to being a congressperson during everything that was happening with that current president and with that particular piece of the movement that was really building, and how she played such a large role in it.
Yes, her experiences. And I remember reading about her background as a nurse, and just, you know, again, going back to this theme, like every experience we have is important. There's not a perfect resume that we have to have when we want to run for office or serve as a leader in some sort of political capacity, because each and every experience is so important to shaping our worldview, our view of ourselves, our view of our community. So I love her. I was so honored to get to hear from her.
We are so honored. I am just super, super excited about these different conversations that we're continuing to have with each other. I know that there was a lot of sentiment from Congresswoman Underwood's particular keynote that was resonating, and all of the different breakouts that were happening right prior to this. And I know that some of you are just moving on over because they went over a little bit. And I think there's a lot of content really helping us think about how could this moment be ours, and how could we really cultivate and leverage this particular moment, because there is so much in this world that is telling us no, and how do we continue to break through? I see Amy wrote, yes, you can, and yes, now. And so how do we continue to build this movement and this sisterhood at Ignite that really keeps opening doors and really helps to build the pieces around yes, and yes to right now.
Yes, and that word of yes, like just hearing that is like, that's all, you know, that confidence, because again, we have the qualifications, but just hearing that support and building a community that constantly offers it is everything. It's everything. And so important.
Well, I could sit here and talk about this all day long, but I know we need a transition. As you all know, folks, there is a ton of change happening in this country, in this world, and all of our communities, and Ignite is definitely included in all of the change. I think many of you may know this, but our president and founder, Ann Moses, will be transitioning from Ignite in June, and I will be stepping in as Ignite's next CEO. Woo!
Yay!
Like little confetti poppers, we could do that. And at the beginning of this month, on March 1st, we shared with the Ignite community that our next Chief Program Officer will be Tiara Stewart. I met Tiara a couple years ago in Palm Springs, and I was giving her a very long lecture about bacon. Needless to say, she does not eat bacon, but she stood there and listened to me talk about Ignite and my passion for it. And we're super excited that she actually joined the team that year. And she has been a huge architect in building our fellows all across the country. Julia P. has had the deep pleasure and honor of being able to work with her quite abundantly just in the past couple of months. And so I'm super excited to have Tiara as a partner as we continue to bring Ignite to more communities across this country. And so I'm super excited to reintroduce you to the phenomenal Tiara Stewart, our current Ignite Chief Program Officer.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sarah, for that introduction. And it just really brings me deep gratitude to be here with you all in community. I feel like I started this week off burnt out, unmotivated, and really just not knowing how I would get here to this moment and or the next day. And I have to say, sitting in all these different spaces between the young women joining in as participants and those who came in to be speakers and panelists and moderators of those panels, I just have been so filled. And it was with that fuel, or it is with that fuel, that I want to show up in this moment for you all today. And even though I am tired, I want to give you the best that I have. And so, and I also want to say thank you to all those who aided or added the way of producing this experience to your plate. And even while that plate probably was already on overflow. And thank you to all those who showed up and joined us today. We know what sacrifices you made, or we don't know what sacrifices you made in order to be present with us this week. And with that being said, I remember in 2018, I went to this Woman Evolve conference produced by Sarah Jakes Roberts. And I remember the energy of that space. Everyone came into the space eager to receive a message. I could feel the floodgates opening. And though everyone showed up eager to receive, equally sister to sister, eager to pour into each other, we wanted to leave out, living the true merits of the theme of that conference was never the same. So however we showed up, we was going to leave never the same. That as a result of us coming together and gathering, that the trajectory of our journey when we would return home would be shifted in a way of entering into a new dimension. And not only am I a product of that experience, my life did shift, but there was something that happened in that space that till this day, I just will never forget. And during the final words, Pastor Sarah Jakes Roberts acknowledged the people in the room who made their way to Denver and literally took everything to get there into that space up into the last cent. She asked them to stand up. And then all around me, I saw women standing up. I too was that woman. It took me everything to get there. I had $20 left in my pocketbook, and this was back in 2018. And honestly, I needed to spare that until the next week until I got my next paycheck. And I know we've all been there before, living paycheck to paycheck, and are still there. And so I chose not to stand, not because of pride, because I recognized that there was still power in that $20 bill in my pocket. The room was flooded with the spirit, and you could see the warriors of great and mighty courage standing in the power, pushing through any pride. There was no room for embarrassment to be had, because we were all in it together. And I think I want to pause with that. And if you are listening, you're still present with us today, can you please just type in the chat box for me, in it together? If you have ever been to a Black church, every time a pastor is preaching, he had the crowd basically pronounce back what he just said. So do me the honor, if you can, in that chat box, just say in it together. And that was the beauty. That was the beauty of the space, in it together. That was the beauty of the space. Pastor Sarah went on to tell these women to bow their heads, and we all join in prayer. And beyond prayer, she then proclaimed that we were not going to be collecting an offering, but instead to take our seeds and plant them in the hands of our sisters for who it took everything to be in this space. And all around me, I saw women running, placing everything they had in their pocketbooks in those warriors' hands. And I reached into my pocket and I took my last 20 and I placed it in my sister's hand who was standing next to me, where she had her head bowed and tears streaming from her face. And while we're not in person, nor are we at church, we are still gathered in community. And regardless if it's virtual, there is something so powerful that happens when we can gather and be on one accord. And so again, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being in this space. Thank you for being present in this space. And again, for those who had to sacrifice something or it took everything to be here, I am not going to ask you to distinguish yourself. What I will like for everyone to do, though, is to flood the chat box with seeds. And what I mean by seeds, these can be seeds of gratitude. So just simply type in, thank you for being here. Or it can be seeds of affirmation. You are greatness in motion. Or it can be seeds of reassurance. You are more than enough. This too shall pass. Your glory is on the other side of your pain. This world needs you. You are the right person. No one can get in the way of what's for you. There's a plan greater than you can ever imagine. You are a lighthouse. Don't let the world dim you. Just keep dropping those into the chat box. Whatever comes to mind, whatever you feel inspired by, and it can literally just be one word, but start running the chat box up with some seeds. And I'm going to pause for a second to give you some time to think about that and what you want to plant in this moment as we're about to close out the 2021 Young Women Run virtual conference. And keep planting those seeds, or if anything you shall feel inspired by, keep dropping it into the chat box. I know people are actively reading those comments. And I want to remind you all the importance of holding space for silence and really just sitting in and let whatever message register and digest. And don't always be so quick to move to the next moment. At least you forfeit the opportunity to really sit in the moment at hand. And so thank you all for planting those seeds. I don't know what they have told you, but we can still empower even through a virtual setting. And y'all showing up in this space this week and all the virtual settings that we had prior to the day and all the ones that will precede this experience that we're going through. Just thank you for the spirit of which you show up in these virtual rooms. And I am going to, and you can keep flooding the gates. I like that. That's what I call it, flood the gates. That's what we're doing. I'm going to go ahead and jump into my presentation, but here's what I would like to say as we get started, because some of the things that I'm going to show might be a little triggering. So I just want to warn those who are watching. And if you need to take a step away, feel free to do that at this time. I just want to start with this quote. The world knows and loves Martin Luther King, but let's remember while he was here, he was not so popular, and even assassinated by the same people that went and declared a national holiday in his honor. In his last speech he ever gave, he said, if something isn't done and done in a hurry to bring us out of our long years of neglect, the whole world is doomed. And while we are still trying to overcome just this previous year, a lot of those things still relevant and still we're facing right now in our lives, we have to recognize that 2020 is not when suffering began. It was when we all had no choice to sit with that suffering. And so here's where we started. The year began with news of devastating bushfires in Australia, killed countless animals, and surviving wildlife suffered from near starvation due to widespread habitat destruction. Let us sit with this term wildfire. What is that? When it ignited, its victims' identity, class, gender, or background matters not. Whether you are rich or poor, have a big house or small, whether you are LeBron James or a Kardashian, once its blaze is started, it burns, captures all things in its reach and sight. It does not stop to ask who lives here or who owns this business. Oh, okay, I'll go around you. It does not ask questions. It just destroys. And in order for a wildfire to start, conditions must be right. Vegetation must be dry enough. So basically, you would need deprivation of the land in order to kindle a fire, but not just any fire, a wildfire, one you cannot control. Wildfires are happening more frequently and more violently due to global warming. We humans pollute this earth without regard. So if our disrespect, lack of investment, and neglect to the land causes vegetation to dry out and creates the perfect environment for a natural disaster, what happens? This is the question I want you all to sit with. What happens when those who call themselves our leaders do the same to us?
Oh, I listened wisely and thought the lightning told, but I feared, and then I come to know my power, count my blessings, and came clear. But I couldn't hear nobody praying, couldn't hear what no one was saying. Oh, had to learn my place among these saints, my I had to get to know myself before I could ask it of anyone else. And in listen to and in following my heart, I found it was a perfect start. And now I hear
And so as we're reflecting on this journey that we're really still on, don't allow for our world to be devoured by a wildfire. Instead, let's siphon the pipelines and ignite a fire across the country with our young women and blaze a trail that none could control, such as a wildfire. And that is the theme of this conference. The time is now, because our lives truly do depend on it. And let's not get distracted by racial difference. And I think that I just want to really, one thing I know for sure is that history informs our present and future. To know it is to live it in a perpetuated state of crisis. We walk around with this false narrative of who we are, of what this country is, and it has been the foundation of our conditioning through educational journey and introduction to this American society. A narrative of greatness and achievement, which fundamentally is incomplete. And I think Brian Stevenson says it best. We are a nation of post-genocide society. When old dude landed on Plymouth Rock and he brought his comrades, we killed millions of indigenous people through famine and war and disease. We created a narrative of racial and gender difference, for example, calling indigenous people savages, then using that rhetoric to disconnect them from their humanity in order for people in the endeavor to devour, to feel righteously so. And so we use this narrative of racial difference in order to disconnect people from their humanity, in order to justify the injustice that we see happening all the time. We created a constitution that talks about equality and justice, but didn't extend that to the millions of natives who were dying. They then used that same racial difference narrative to get comfortable with over 2.5 centuries of slavery. We are a slavery society. We created a narrative that made slavery about race. And so that is the biggest thing that we're up against. The racial difference that is still relevant to this day. And to justify this horrific and treacherous vanguard, all we needed to do was create that racial narrative to aid in the divide of people, to keep people fighting against each other in order to sustain a capitalistic society where within the perimeters of this country, you can have someone holding billions and then visit Oakland, California and see that there are tent cities with people without homes, shuffling through trash cans for your scraps. The root of this divide is such a narrative that this nation was founded on. The idea that when we do come to the table, we cannot recognize the human of all that gathered. Therefore, our only goal is for self-achievement, disconnected from community, self-preservation, and what you need. Therefore, you can't hear or see anything else or anyone else. So I ask you all, as you leave this Ignite space, to examine your hearts and your minds and acknowledge how we have been conditioned. And when we come to the table of civil discourse, recognize the human of all parties, no matter who they are. And lastly, if you should ever get in a space of despair, I often get there. And before you decide to throw in the flag, remember how far we have come. Remember, it was once the dream of my enslaved ancestors that we should be free. And I always say, if I should find my freedom, then it is my duty to also set my people free. And so today, I have a call to action for you. So whether you are going to be the candidate, the campaign operative, the commissioner, the political activist, or the policymaker, we have some clear steps for what we would like to see you do as a result of being in this space with us this week. And so it's not just about showing up and being empowered. We have to put some action behind that fire. It's not enough to be inspired or motivated. You know, those things are ever fleeting. It's just like happiness. It happens and it goes away. So beyond being empowered, beyond being inspired, we got to take action. And so that's step one. is be clear about your mission. And this, as you will see through all these Ignite spaces, we start with the why. And so what drives you every day to get up? What is that thing that energizes you, that you are passionate about, the conviction you have about the way of the world? What are some local issues in your community you care about? This is your step one. Is to get to know yourself, get to know your community, and get anchored about the business and the journey you're going to be on. Because if you don't, the world is going to decide this for you. And then after you discover what that why is, and it's going to be ever evolving in your journey, it evolve each stage you get into, each dimension you get into, and that's okay. You're constantly examining your full self. The next step is to figure out what type of impact you want to make. So what type of impact do you want to make in your community, your state, and world? What do you want to have shifted or change as a result of your existence? What does change or impact look, sound, and feel like to you? Be very clear about why you're doing it and the impact that you want to have. And so you never get disconnected from this. We go into so many corrupt spaces and we lose the point of what we were even there for. Don't get distracted. And then the step two for you is decide how you will serve. So whether that is research an elected seat and create a roadmap, research boards and commissions in your city, and just start by attending a meeting. So even if you're not ready to apply tomorrow, you can go and match that why that we just talked about, match the impact that you want to have, and go figure out what board or commission in your community is addressing that. And whether you're going to apply, go sit and listen into the meetings, follow them on LinkedIn, start chatting with them so you can position yourself when you are ready to apply. And then start volunteering and continue to be present in your community. We don't need any more leaders who are not present in our communities. And so you need to put that sweat equity in. You need to be on the grounds. We need to dismantle this idea that we're going to be a voice for the voiceless. We're nobody's voice. What we are doing is creating spaces for people to be their own voices, or we're amplifying the voices of our communities. Then the second to last step is declare your ambition. So after you have gone through those first two steps, you have really clear to yourself about your why, the impact you want to make. You have identified your call to service. Now it's time to use the power of your tongue and affirm it in this universe. And just by the power of speaking it, allowing those words to roll off your tongue into the universe, you're manifesting whatever that destiny, and everything in the world will conspire and get in alignment with what you're trying to do. And so declare your ambition. And it's as simple as I will. And then create a timeline, whether it's the month or the exact day or the month and a year, you decide. And if you are going to declare your ambition, we would love to hear it. If you post it on your story, your Instagram, please tag Ignite. And we would love to repost that. So that's the third step. And then the step 4, of course, is stay connected. More Ignite opportunities coming down the pipeline. And one of the biggest announcements that we have today is to apply to become a fellow. The applications are now open. And every year, Ignite recruits a cohort of passionate women in communities across America and provides them with resources, training, and networks to mobilize their community to become politically engaged. I think if you're not really clear about what your next step is, becoming a fellow can also help you position yourself as you're trying to redefine that roadmap and where you're trying to go and your call to leadership and service. So please, please, please apply to be a fellow or recommend someone, suggest someone. You can go on our website, share it with them, and encourage someone to do it. And if you're that person that's saying, oh, I don't know if I can, I don't know if this is for me, then I am talking directly to you and I'm telling you, yes, you. And then the next is to register for our Power to the People series. And these are the cities of which they're going to be in. And you can also access this online, ignitenational.org/online. And you'll be able to sign up directly for your city. And this is a 2-day training series to prepare you to apply for a police oversight commission. And then last but not least, if you're someone who is about to run for office, you're trying to consider it, and you're going to do it now, we want you. And our Run Now program is a 10-week cohort-based virtual training. So wherever you are across the country, to expedite your path to political leadership. Ignite women learned everything, every aspect of running their first campaign, from fundraiser to endorsements to articulating your personal call to service and more. And so again, if you're not sure how to do it, you don't know if you don't know what this journey looks like, but you know you have this frustration about the way of the world or something in your community that you need to shift because nobody else is doing it. Join us, and we want to not only support you in community, but provide some tools for you to use along your journey. And those are my calls to action. That is my call to action. So in closing, I just want to get an idea of where you fall on a spectrum. So share in the chat box your number, and you don't need to do a sentence about why. You can just type the number, because I know we're ready to disengage online. But hey, if you do feel like it, feel free to do it. But how excited are you to define your call to service or to take action now? So I don't know about that still. Or are you so pumped up that literally nothing can stop you? So let's see what is coming through the chat. I can't really see. Oh no, I can't. $500. $9,000. Okay, I think that we are pretty pumped up. I just want to thank y'all for this time, and thank you again for being present in this moment with me. And I look forward to connecting with you all in some other virtual space, over the phone, email, text, Instagram, wherever you should find me or me to find you. But thank you for this time. And I hope that as a result of showing up in this space this week, even beyond if you were operating at a deficit like myself, that you leave clear about what you need to do next, even if it's just taking one step. Thank you again.
Thank you, Tiara.
Thank you, Tiara. Oh my gosh.
I'm sure you all thought you weren't going to see us again, right? You're welcome. Here we are.
We're back.
Julia P., thoughts as we close out our time together?
Oh my gosh. I mean, first of all, I just want to extend so much gratitude for the amazing presentation Tiara just gave. I will never forget the day Tiara told a few of us fellows in a professional development training her commitment to community before self. And that has resonated with me ever since, as well as being in so many other spaces with Tiara, her light, her heart, her spirit that she brings into every single community shines through. So thank you, Tiara. You have taught me personally, like, so much vulnerability, so much courage, how to really show up. And thank you so much. So I just wanted to extend that. Yeah, I am just so grateful for this conference. I mean, I was talking about sticky note moments, which there's so many quotes, but I'm also so grateful for this conference in providing us the tangible steps and inspiration to put those moments into use in our everyday lives.
Yeah, I think Tiara hit on it the best. Is like, we can be as inspired and activated as humanly possible, but unless we actually take all of this, like, we don't want this to just be in the Ignite bubble. We want you to pop the bubbles and get right on out there. And really, really figuring out, how does this fit into your plan? How does this fit? Because there's never going to be the just right, perfect moment. And Kathleen hit it. The revolution will not be televised, but it's happening. Here it is. It is happening behind the scenes in so many different ways.
I love that. That's hysterical. Cecilia is so proud of the Ignite community. This conference was everything. And I guess just to really start off our closing remarks with gratitude again for everyone who showed up this week, ready to reflect, ready to learn, ready to listen, and really ready to work. I think the energy and enthusiasm and true warmth that has been built this past week was just so inspiring. And as we can see in the chat box, like, on a scale from to nothing can stop me, like, the numbers spoke for themselves, and that's just truly so amazing.
Joan, I think we're ready for our slide deck. Thank you for, it will come shortly.
We're just keeping everyone waiting, but yeah, we can, continue.
Yeah, I think to Julia P's point too, I think the big piece about showing up, I know that people are in finals, midterms, insert the above and middle. I met with a young woman this morning in the networking session. She's like, I've got a full day of meetings, but I'm going to squeeze it in. And, I think the big piece about virtual conferences is really figuring out how can you get the dosage that you need throughout the time. And so thank you so much for showing up in all of the different ways that you did to build community with us. And I mean, what a speaker lineup.
I know.
OMG.
And also, I think it's so important, to give yourself some affirmations for doing that, for showing up despite everything else, whether it's a pat on the back, a clap, some
high five,
affirmations, a high five, a hug. I love little hugs like that. I understand the social and physical disconnectedness that has been truly felt this past year, and the commitment to showing up and pouring into and serving others and your communities through this conference has been truly just so inspiring and energizing. So thank you all for all the work you have done in your communities, the work you currently do, and all the amazing work that you will do, because this is just the beginning. And also a huge thank you to all the speakers who spoke at this event. Sarah said it best. What a lineup. To be told, yes, we can, and here's how we can, was just so powerful. And I think storytelling and listening is such a powerful tool. And I'm so grateful to be able to have the opportunity to listen to these stories, these testimonies, these lived experiences. And I'm so grateful for the speakers not only being able to lead in their own communities and committed to that leadership, but also uplifting the growth of all of us as leaders. So huge thank you to our speakers. And I now want to move into discussing the fellowship. As you all, or some of you may know, I am the Raleigh-Durham Ignite Fellow, and this is my first year. And I have had, and I say this with the truest of sincerity, the most defining joy in this role. It's really allowed me to meet amazing women in my community, to connect with elected officials. I've gotten to meet mayors and state senators and talk to them and have honest conversations, not only about our journeys, but where we see the state of North Carolina, in my case, going, and how we can make that space a community that serves all. I've gotten to learn about policy in my region and how it affects communities. I've gotten to, facilitate and participate in events that really build spaces like this to have candid conversations about how we can serve each other and lift each other up, and opportunities to grow as leaders professionally. And at the end of the day, being an Ignite Fellow is being a community member, a sister, and learning how to be an empowered human being who serves others. So if you're interested in serving your community in this role, please, please, please apply. The applications are now open. And all you have to do is go to this link. You can access the job description. It's ignitenational.org/fellowship. I would also love to extend any support I can offer on my end. So I'm on the app. Please feel free to message me through the app if you have any questions. But it is just the most fulfilling experience, and I could not speak higher of it, or else I'd be here all day, clearly. So I will pass it off to Sarah.
Thank you, Julia P. We are so lucky that you are our Raleigh-Durham Fellow this year, and so excited about all the work that you've been able to build. So we're looking for more of humans like Julia P's around the country. Tira touched on a bunch of these different events that are coming up that we just want to highlight. There is a lot going on in the month of April, because that's tomorrow, OMG. And so there is a career planning series on how to build a strong resume cover letter that's happening on the 12th. Our phenomenal team is working on Sexual Assault Awareness Month content across the month, and that will culminate in an event called Shattering the Silence, a conversation on sexual assault on the 27th. And then we have a national Power to the People panel on navigating your role as a commissioner. So Tira hit on the city-specific events, and then there's also just one more national piece of content that you all can join us for this coming April, which is literally tomorrow. We just want to thank our sponsors one more time that provided content: EMC Research, Facebook, JP Morgan Chase and Company, Women on the Move, and then to AT&T and Levi Strauss and Company for their support for Ignite, and particularly for this conference. And then we want to re-thank our staff. If you don't know all the 16 faces around this Brady Bunch situation yet, I hope you continue to reach out to each and every one of us through the app or via email. You all can find us a multitude of different ways, but this was really a team effort, and there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that Julia P is well aware of now. And so super shout out to our team for curating the content, getting the speakers, getting marketing, all of the things in between to really make this experience so phenomenal for all of us. I also want to super shout out our planning committee who has really been helping to design the content and curating the theme. Julia P was a phenomenal committee member that really helped from, like she said this morning, a blank Google Doc to like the most epic Google Doc it is now, and really giving us some space to discover what makes sense for our community right now. Julia P, did I miss any other committee members?
The amazing Cameron, who has just offered so many ideas, so many insights to strengthen this conference and how it feels and how it appears and how it serves all of us. So just wanted to shout her out as well. She was amazing. And I loved getting to know her through the committee. And then again, like, we can't shout out Deshani and Joan too many times. They are the reason that this conference felt the way it did and was able to, you know, serve us all in the capacities we wanted it to. They're the reason for the beautiful app. They were able to like put us all on the screens on time. They coordinated everything. So thank you, Joan and Sarah, or Joan and Sarah. I mean, all of you, but Deshani and Joan for being so committed, so thorough, and so patient. I asked so many questions. So thank you both so much.
Yes, all hail to Queen Joan.
Yes.
Who we will all see in person very soon and can give big hugs to. I think, and yes, Cameron, you are phenomenal. Thank you. I don't know if you're on with us right now, but super grateful for everything that you did with the committee and throughout the month of March. So folks, we are going to close up our time here at Young Women Run. Tara gave you all a phenomenal call to action, and we just want to remind you that the time is now. You're the leaders that we need every single day. You're going to create the policy, elevate the policy, make the right decisions that we need for our communities right now. And so if you are ready to run for office, head on to that. But being a political leader is more than running for office. And so we're super excited for you to continue to get involved and really flex your political power. Julia P, any last words for our phenomenal humans that are still on with us today?
I think you wrapped it up best. I will add, you know, the feeling of community, although it was virtual, was so powerful. So as we all flex our political power, let's also support each other. Let's stay connected in our journeys, because this community is truly just such a special thing. So I look forward to seeing how each and everyone flexes their political power and their leadership. And thank you all again.
Awesome. So we are going to head over to the networking. So if you want to join us there for some last pieces around debriefing, we'll see you there. Otherwise, we will see you in April and beyond for all sorts of Ignite events happening to a screen near you. Thank you so much, Julia P. Thank you, everybody. Take care.